The power you seek is already within you, waiting in the silence. This audiobook guides you back to your elevated frequency, the sacred resonance that unlocks your true power. The Elevated Frequency Formula. Introduction. In the depths of your being lies a frequency, a sacred vibration that has existed since time immemorial. This resonance, though seemingly lost in the clamor of modern existence, remains as potent as the day the universe first whispered its secrets into the fabric of creation. You have felt its presence in moments of perfect stillness, when the world grows quiet and something ancient stirs within. It manifests in that inexplicable knowing that transcends thought, in the wordless wisdom that flows through your veins like liquid light. This is the elevated frequency, not a concept to be grasped by the mind, but a truth that awakens through the gentle unfoldment of your inner awareness. The noise of analytical thought has long obscured this pristine signal. Like static drowning out a celestial broadcast, the endless chatter of the mind has veiled your connection to this timeless frequency. Yet as you release the need to understand through intellect alone, you begin to sense it, first as a subtle whisper, then as an unmistakable presence. This frequency speaks in the language of pure sensation. It communicates through the wisdom of your body, through the intuitive pulses that arise when the mind grows still. As you surrender the habit of constant thinking, something remarkable occurs. Your soul, that eternal aspect of your being, begins to transmit with greater clarity. What you now hold is not merely a book, but a mirror reflecting the forgotten dimensions of your own consciousness. These chapters serve as a gateway to remembrance, an invitation to rediscover what has always resided within. The elevated frequency formula emerges not as an external system to be learned, but as an inner knowing to be remembered. You need not strain to grasp these teachings. Instead, allow them to wash over you like waves upon the shore, each one carrying you deeper into the ocean of your own awareness. For in this journey of remembrance, less effort creates more opening, less thinking enables more knowing, and less striving reveals more being. Part 1. The Awakening, Tuning the Inner Instrument. Chapter 1. The Noise That Numbs the Soul. In a distant mountain village lived Walter, a musician whose melodies once stirred the hearts of all who listened. His songs carried the whispers of ancient winds and the secrets of starlit nights. Yet as the years passed, the pressures of daily life, the endless calculations, the ceaseless planning, the constant worrying, slowly drowned out the music that once flowed effortlessly through his fingers. You see, Walter's story mirrors a truth that lies at the heart of spiritual awakening. The very mind that you believe guides your path often becomes the veil that obscures your inner light. Each thought, each analysis, each careful consideration adds another layer of static to the pure frequency of your being. Like Walter, you have forgotten that your greatest power lies not in thinking, but in being. The mind serves as a magnificent instrument for navigating the physical world, yet in matters of spirit it becomes the very obstacle it seeks to overcome. When you attempt to think your way to enlightenment, you create ripples in the still waters of consciousness where truth naturally reflects. Your thoughts, however well-intentioned, act as interference patterns, disrupting the clear signal of your soul's broadcast. One evening, as autumn leaves danced on the evening breeze, Walter sat beneath an ancient oak tree, exhausted from his futile attempts to recapture his lost gift. For the first time in years, he stopped trying. He ceased his endless analysis of scales and theories. He surrendered the weight of expectation and simply listened to the wind. In that moment of pure receptivity, something extraordinary occurred. The music returned, not as a product of effort or thought, but as a natural expression of his being. The melodies flowed through him like a spring released from winter's grip, pure and effortless. He had discovered what the sages have known through the ages. True power emerges not through the activity of mind, but through the gateway of stillness. This simple truth beckons to you now. Your natural frequency, your innate connection to the universal flow, has never left you. It has merely been obscured by the constant static of mental activity you've mistaken for wisdom. Like Walter, your path to power lies not in accumulating more thoughts, but in releasing their hold over your consciousness. Practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit in complete silence for 5 minutes. Watch the parade of thoughts as they march across your mind, but do not engage with them. Observe them as you would observe a distant storm, acknowledging their presence while remaining untouched by their turbulence. Allow each thought to pass like clouds across an endless sky, neither grasping nor rejecting. In the spaces between thoughts, feel the pulse of your true frequency beginning to emerge. Chapter 2. The Stillness Between Thoughts. In the heart of an ancient library where dust motes danced in shafts of golden light, worked a librarian named Eleanor. Among towering shelves of weathered volumes, she discovered an unusual book bound in faded leather. Opening its cover, she found not words but empty chapters, pristine and untouched by ink. Yet as she held this seemingly vacant tome, an inexplicable peace washed over her, as if the very emptiness spoke volumes. You, like Eleanor, may believe that meaning lies only in fullness, in thoughts, words, and constant motion. But within that blank book lay a truth as old as existence itself. Stillness is not an absence, but a presence. It is the canvas upon which all creation paints itself, the silence from which all sound emerges. Between each thought that crosses your mind exists a space, a pause so subtle you may have never noticed it before. This space, this momentary stillness, contains the elevated frequency that connects you to the infinite. When your mind grows quiet, even for a fraction of a second, you touch the vibration of pure potential. Eleanor returned to the blank book day after day, no longer trying to understand its mystery with her mind. Instead, she simply sat with it, allowing its emptiness to teach her. As weeks passed, she noticed something remarkable. In moments of complete surrender, the chapters seemed to emit a soft luminescence, as if the very stillness had taken on light. This light exists within you too. It shines in the spaces between your thoughts, in the pause between your breaths, in those precious moments when you release the need to know, to do, to become. These are not empty spaces. They are filled with the very essence of creation. Just as Eleanor learned to embrace the silent wisdom of the blank chapters, you too can discover the power of pure awareness. Each time you pause, each time you step back from the endless stream of thoughts, you enter the field of elevated frequency where all manifestation begins. Practice. Let this ancient breathing rhythm guide you into the space of pure potential. Inhale for 4 counts, feeling the breath fill your being. Hold for 4 counts, resting in complete stillness. Exhale for 4 counts, releasing all effort. Remain in the empty space for 4 counts, touching the infinite. Continue this sacred rhythm for 4 minutes, allowing yourself to merge with the silence that creates all things. Chapter 3. The Ancient Frequency of the Heart. In the ancient mountains where wisdom whispers through stone, a weary traveler named George sought refuge from a sudden storm. Exhausted from his journey, he discovered an opening in the rock face, a cave that seemed to breathe with its own life. As you walk your own path, the universe often guides you through what appears to be chance. Yet there are no accidents in the cosmic dance of creation. Like George, you are led precisely where your soul needs to journey. Stepping into the cave's embrace, George noticed something extraordinary, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to emerge from the very heart of the earth. This sound, barely perceptible at first, began to align with his own heartbeat, creating a harmony that transcended ordinary experience. This alignment you seek, this elevated frequency, does not come through mental strain or endless analysis. It flows naturally when your heart finds its true rhythm. The ancient ones knew this truth. Your heart is the first teacher, the original guide. Long before thought forms into words, your heart pulses with knowing. As George sat in the cave surrendering to this mysterious resonance, his mind gradually stilled. The constant chatter of thoughts, worries, and plans dissolved into the pure vibrations surrounding him. In this space of heart-centered silence, clarity dawned, not as thoughts, but as direct knowing. Your heart carries this same wisdom. When you quiet the mind's endless commentary, your heart's intelligence emerges. It speaks not in words, but in feelings, in subtle shifts of energy, in an inner knowing that transcends logic. In the depths of the cave, George discovered that by simply breathing with the hum, his entire being shifted into a state of peace that no amount of thinking could have achieved. His heart and the cave's resonance became one song, one truth, one reality. This is the way of elevated frequency, not through forcing or striving, but through allowing your heart to attune to the cosmic rhythm that already exists within you. Your heart beats in perfect harmony with the universe's own pulse. It is your built-in compass, your connection to ancient wisdom that transcends time. Just as George found his truth in that humming cave, you carry within your chest a gateway to higher understanding. Your heart knows the way home. It beats with the same rhythm that moves the stars and turns the seasons. When you learn to listen, to feel, to trust this inner guidance, you align with forces far greater than the limited scope of thought. Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and simply ask, "What is my energy feeling right now?" Then listen. Feel the warmth beneath your palm, the steady rhythm that has guided you since before your first breath. Allow yourself to sink into this sacred connection, this ancient doorway to wisdom that lies within your own chest. The answer may come as a whisper, a sensation, or a knowing. Trust whatever arises. This is your heart speaking its truth, sharing the wisdom that has always been there, waiting for you to remember how to listen. Chapter 4. The Illusion of Control. In a small workshop filled with the rhythmic ticking of countless timepieces, Florence labored day and night. Her fingers, precise as the gears she crafted, moved with mechanical certainty as she pursued her lifelong quest to create a clock that would measure time with absolute perfection. You too may recognize this yearning for control, this desire to measure and manage every moment of existence. Like Florence, you might find yourself attempting to orchestrate the symphony of life, believing that if you could just plan carefully enough, think thoroughly enough, everything would unfold exactly as you wish. The universe operates on a different wisdom. While Florence's workshop filled with the harsh, rigid ticking of her perfect timepieces, her own heart began to beat with anxiety. Each tick became a reminder of time slipping away, each tick an echo of moments she couldn't capture. The more she tried to control time, the more it seemed to control her. In your own life, notice how often the mind creates elaborate systems of control, detailed plans, rigid expectations, careful calculations. Yet beneath these mental constructions lies a deeper truth. Control is but an illusion, a story the ego tells to feel safe in an infinite universe. One morning, Florence discovered her prized chronometer had fallen, its crystal cracked, its rhythm altered. Instead of fixing it immediately, something urged her to listen to its new beat, irregular, unpredictable, yet somehow more alive. As she sat with this broken timepiece, she noticed how time itself seemed to shift, becoming more fluid, more natural. The universe moves not in mechanical ticks and tocks, but in waves and cycles, in breath and flow. When you release your grip on how things should be, you open yourself to how things naturally are. This surrender is not weakness. It is alignment with the cosmic dance that has orchestrated galaxies long before human thoughts arose to measure time. As Florence learned to embrace the imperfect rhythm of her broken clock, her workshop transformed. The harsh ticking softened into a gentle pulse, like a heartbeat. Time no longer felt like an enemy to be conquered, but a friend to be embraced. When you surrender control, you don't lose power. You gain it. You step into the flow of universal intelligence that has orchestrated every sunrise, every season, every breath since the dawn of existence. Practice. Choose one thing today to release control over. Say aloud, "I surrender this to the divine." Feel the weight lift from your shoulders as you relinquish the need to orchestrate every detail. Notice how your breath deepens and your muscles relax. Throughout the day, whenever thoughts of control arise around this surrendered item, gently remind yourself that you have placed it in the hands of universal wisdom. Trust that the cosmic intelligence that guides the tides and turns the seasons will guide this too, in perfect time and perfect measure. Chapter 5. Surrender. The Portal to Power. In the mist-covered hills of Vermont, where ancient rivers carve paths through time-worn stone, Benjamin stood waist-deep in rushing waters. His fishing rod bent like a bow against the current's fierce strength, muscles straining as he fought nature's raw power. For hours he wrestled with the wild flow, determined to prove his mastery over the untamed river. You too have felt this struggle, the exhausting battle against life's currents, believing that force of will alone would bend circumstance to your desires. Yet in this resistance lies the very obstacle to your power. When Benjamin's arms finally gave way, when his grip loosened and his body surrendered to the flow, something miraculous occurred. Instead of being pulled under, he found himself guided gently to shore, carried by the very force he had fought so desperately to overcome. This truth echoes through the ages. Surrender is not defeat. It is the gateway to your greatest power. When you release the need to control, to force, to struggle, you align with the infinite intelligence that moves through all things. This is not passive resignation, but active allowing, a spiritual declaration that you trust in powers greater than your limited thinking mind. In the days that followed, Benjamin returned to the river transformed. No longer fighting the current, he learned to read its rhythms, to move with its flow rather than against it. His fishing net filled abundantly, not through force, but through harmony with the water's natural movement. The universe responds not to your struggle, but to your surrender. When thought ceases its endless planning and controlling, when trust replaces tension, your energy field expands into its natural state of receptivity. This is the ancient way, the path of power through peace. Observe how often you resist what is, believing that through mental force you can bend reality to your will. Yet true manifestation occurs not through struggle but through surrender. Like Benjamin, you will discover that what you seek comes naturally when you stop forcing it to arrive. Practice. Take a piece of paper and write, "I now surrender," followed by what you are ready to release. Let your words flow naturally, expressing all that you've been struggling to control. Light a candle, then carefully burn the paper, watching your attachment transform into ash. As the paper burns, feel the lightness that comes with true letting go. Notice how your body relaxes, how your breath deepens as you witness the physical representation of surrender. In this sacred moment of release, you align with the infinite wisdom of the universe, allowing its power to flow through you unimpeded. This simple yet profound ritual creates space for new possibilities to emerge, just as nature clears away the old to make way for new growth. Chapter 6: Desire Without Clinging. In a quaint village where roses climb ancient stone walls, Clara sat by her window each evening, watching the path where her beloved had last walked away. Her heart ached with longing, her thoughts spinning endless scenarios of his return. Each passing day without word from him dimmed her natural radiance, replacing joy with anxiety's heavy shadow. You may recognize yourself in Clara's story. How often have you clung so tightly to a desire that it became a source of suffering? The universe operates through a divine paradox. That which you chase inevitably runs further away, while that which you release with love often finds its way back to you. When you grasp at what you want, your energy becomes dense with fear and attachment. This heaviness creates resistance in the universal field, blocking the very thing you seek. Like a hand clenched around water, the tighter you squeeze, the more quickly it escapes your grasp. True manifestation flows from a space of loving detachment. When you hold your desires lightly, honoring them while remaining unattached to their form or timing, you enter a state of magnetic allowance. Your energy field becomes clear, spacious, and inviting to the abundance that naturally seeks to flow toward you. After weeks of torment, Clara found herself exhausted by her own attachment. In a moment of grace, she turned her attention inward, tending to the garden of her own heart, rather than scanning the horizon for her beloved's return. She began to paint again, to sing, to dance, not to attract him back, but because these activities brought her joy. As her energy shifted from grasping to flowing, something shifted in the universal field. One autumn morning, while Clara sat peacefully in her garden, her beloved appeared on the path. He had felt drawn back, not by her need, but by her light, the very light that had been obscured by attachment before. Your desires are sacred seeds planted in the soil of possibility, but like any garden, growth cannot be forced. When you release your grip on outcomes while maintaining faith in divine timing, you create the perfect conditions for manifestation. Practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed and close your eyes. Breathe deeply, allowing your body to settle into stillness. Visualize something you deeply desire, seeing it clearly in your mind's eye, every detail, every sensation, every emotion it evokes within you. Now imagine this desire surrounded by pure white light, a divine radiance that represents universal wisdom and perfect timing. Gently release your vision into this light, like a leaf floating on a crystal stream, whispering, "Only if this serves my highest vibration." Feel the profound peace that comes with this sacred surrender, knowing that the universe holds your dreams in perfect trust. Let this feeling of serene acceptance wash over you, cleansing away any remnants of attachment or doubt. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes, carrying this state of peaceful allowance with you into your day. Chapter 7: The Breath of Alignment. In the mountains of Tibet, where ancient wisdom whispers through prayer flags, Samuel carried his grief like a heavy stone. Each morning he would walk the winding paths, his shoulders bent beneath the weight of loss, until one dawn when he encountered an elderly monk tending to a small garden. The monk, seeing the shadow in Samuel's eyes, motioned for him to sit. Without words, he guided Samuel's attention to the simple act of breathing. "Your breath," the monk finally spoke, "is the bridge between your sorrow and your joy. You too carry within you this sacred bridge. Your breath is not merely air moving through your body. It is the vital force of the universe flowing through your being. Each inhale connects you to the infinite source of all creation, while each exhale releases what no longer serves your highest good. When grief, fear, or confusion cloud your mind, your breath becomes shallow, trapping stagnant energy within. Yet within the rhythm of conscious breathing lies a profound truth. You can transmute any emotional state through the alchemy of intentional breath. The monk showed Samuel how to breathe deeply into his pain, neither fighting nor clinging to it. "Watch," he instructed, drawing Samuel's attention to a prayer flag dancing in the wind. "The flag does not create the wind, nor does it resist it. It simply moves with what is." As days passed, Samuel began to understand. Each morning he would sit in the garden, breathing with presence and purpose. Gradually, he noticed moments when joy would slip through the cracks of his grief, not because he had forgotten his love, but because he had learned to hold both sorrow and joy in the same breath. Your breath holds this same transformative power. It is the most intimate expression of universal energy moving through you. When you breathe with conscious awareness, you align with the natural rhythm of life itself, elevating your frequency to match the vibration of peace. Practice. Take 10 conscious breaths with full awareness, feeling the rise, the fall, and the pause between each. Let each breath become a sacred ritual, a moment of communion with the infinite wisdom that flows through you. As you inhale, imagine drawing in pure light and universal energy. As you exhale, release all that no longer serves your highest good. In the pause between breaths, rest in that still point where all possibility exists. This simple practice, performed with devotion, opens doorways to deeper understanding and attunement with the cosmic forces that shape your reality. Chapter 8. The Divine Observer. In a sunlit studio among ancient oaks, Lillian stood before her blank canvas, paintbrush trembling in her hand. For years she had painted what her eyes could see, landscapes, portraits, still lifes, yet something deeper called to her soul. As she closed her eyes in frustration, a curious thing happened. Images began to form not before her eyes, but in the space behind her thoughts. You too possess this inner eye, this sacred ability to witness the dance of consciousness itself. Beyond the constant chatter of your mind lies a vast expanse of pure awareness, the true source of all creativity and power. When you step back from the stream of thoughts, you discover a profound truth. You are not the voice in your head, but the presence that hears it. This awareness, this witnessing consciousness, is your gateway to elevated frequency. It is the part of you that remains forever untouched by worry, doubt, or fear. Lillian began to paint from this space of pure witnessing. She allowed her brush to move not from planning or technique, but from the silence that lived beneath her thoughts. Colors flowed onto the canvas in ways her mind could never have conceived. Forms emerged that spoke directly to the soul rather than the intellect. As she worked, something extraordinary unfolded. The more she painted from this space of awareness, the more her art began to shimmer with an otherworldly light. Visitors to her studio would stand transfixed before her new works, feeling something they couldn't explain, a resonance with truth itself. What Lillian discovered was not just a new way of painting, but the eternal truth of your own nature. You are not the passing thoughts that cloud your mind, but the clear sky in which they appear and disappear. This recognition is not an intellectual understanding, but a direct knowing that transforms your entire being. In the depths of your own consciousness lies this same pure awareness, the witness that watches the play of thoughts without becoming entangled in them. When you rest in this space, your natural frequency elevates effortlessly, for you have touched the unchanging core of your being. Practice. Sit still for 5 minutes and silently repeat, "I am the awareness behind the thoughts." Let each thought arise and pass without engaging with it, like watching clouds drift across the sky. Notice how your true self remains unchanged, a constant witness to the ever-shifting panorama of mental activity. As you settle into this practice, you may find that the spaces between thoughts naturally begin to expand, revealing glimpses of your essential nature, pure, unbounded awareness. If your mind wanders, simply return to the mantra with gentle persistence, knowing that each return strengthens your connection to the eternal witness within. Chapter 9. Frequency First Then Form. In the bustling markets of an ancient trade route, Edwin moved among the stalls with a heavy heart. His business had fallen into decline, though he worked longer hours than any other merchant. Each morning he arrived first to set up his wares, yet customers seemed drawn to other vendors whose goods were no finer than his own. You see, like Edwin, you may have noticed that effort alone does not yield the results you seek. There exists a deeper law at work, one that governs all manifestation in the physical world. This law states that your energetic frequency precedes all forms. When you approach any situation, it is not your actions that determine the outcome, but the vibrational offering you bring. Your energy speaks before your words, shapes circumstances before your hands touch them, and creates reality before any physical movement occurs. Edwin discovered this truth through an unexpected encounter with a wise tea merchant. Instead of offering advice about business strategy, the old merchant simply invited Edwin to sit and observe the energy he carried. In that moment of stillness, Edwin realized he had been approaching his trade with desperation, fear, and scarcity, and these very frequencies were shaping his results. The next morning, Edwin did something different. Before touching a single item in his shop, he sat in silence and consciously shifted his energy. He allowed feelings of abundance, joy, and gratitude to fill his being. He imagined success as an energy he could embody rather than a goal to chase. Within days, his business began to transform. Customers who had previously passed by now stopped, drawn not just to his wares, but to the peaceful prosperity that emanated from his stall. His transactions flowed with unexpected ease, and opportunities appeared as if by magic. This ancient wisdom beckons you to recognize that every circumstance in your life is responding not to your actions, but to your energetic signature. Your frequency is the template upon which all forms are built. When you lead with elevated energy, reality has no choice but to match your vibration. Practice. Before any task today, pause and raise your inner state. Ask, what frequency do I wish to lead with? Let this question become your compass, guiding you toward elevated states of being. Whether you face a business meeting, a creative endeavor, or a simple conversation, take a moment to consciously choose your energetic signature. Remember that your inner state is the architect of your outer reality. By deliberately selecting the frequency you wish to embody, be it confidence, peace, abundance, or joy, you set in motion the universal forces that will shape your experience. Chapter 10. The Veil of Thought. In a small town among rolling hills, Martha would rise before dawn each morning to walk the quiet streets. Though she had followed this routine for years, Something began to shift within her consciousness. Between her thoughts about lesson plans and student concerns, moments of pure awareness started to emerge, brief glimpses of a radiant inner light that seemed to illuminate everything from within. You possess this same light, though it often remains hidden beneath the constant stream of mental activity that fills your days. Your thoughts, like clouds passing across the sky, are not inherently problematic. Yet when they gather without pause, they create a dense fog that obscures the brilliant sun of your true nature. This fog of thought has become so normal that you may have forgotten the clarity that lies beneath it. Each thought claims importance, demands attention, insists on being heard. Yet beneath this mental chatter flows a current of pure awareness, your natural state of elevated frequency. One morning, as Martha walked her familiar path, she noticed how her thoughts about the day ahead had created a heaviness in her chest. Instead of trying to change these thoughts, she simply watched them pass like leaves floating down a stream. In that gentle observation, something extraordinary occurred. The thoughts began to thin, revealing glimpses of a peaceful presence that had always been there. This presence wasn't something Martha had to create or achieve. It was her natural state, revealed when the veil of constant thinking lifted even slightly. She discovered that by simply watching her thoughts without judgment or resistance, they began to lose their grip on her attention. The inner light grew stronger, not because it was changing, but because she was finally seeing what had always been there. When you learn to watch your thoughts rather than being consumed by them, you begin to experience the spaciousness of your true nature. This watching creates a gentle distance between you and the mental activity that so often dominates your experience. In this space, your natural frequency can emerge. Practice. Take 10 minutes to write down every recurring thought that crosses your mind. Don't judge or analyze them as they come. Simply record each one with detached awareness. Once complete, examine each thought and ask yourself, is this thought lifting or lowering my energy? Notice how some thoughts feel heavy and draining, while others bring lightness and vitality. This simple act of observation will begin to dissolve the veil between you and your natural state of elevated frequency. Through this practice of conscious witnessing, you create space between yourself and the mental patterns that have unconsciously shaped your experience. As you develop this skill of discrimination, you'll find yourself naturally gravitating toward thoughts that align with your highest vibration. Part 2, the practice, activating the higher frequency. Chapter 11, the magnetic mind stillness creates. In the heart of an ancient desert monastery, where silence hangs thick as incense in the air, Harold arrived with his mind racing and his spirit depleted. His hands trembled from too much coffee, his thoughts scattered like leaves in a storm. Success had become his prison, and strategy his chains. You too may recognize this familiar dance with exhaustion, the endless pursuit of more through the relentless action of doing. Yet within these sacred walls, a truth awaits that will transform your understanding of manifestation itself. The monk who greeted Harold spoke not a word, but gestured to a simple stone bench in the courtyard. For hours, they sat together in complete stillness, while Harold's mind screamed for movement, for plans, for the next step forward. Yet slowly, like sediment settling in still water, his thoughts began to clear. When you allow yourself to enter true stillness, you activate a magnetic force far more powerful than any strategy. This is not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of alignment, a state where your energy field becomes pure and uncluttered. In this clarity, the universe can finally see its own reflection in you. Each morning, Harold joined the monks in their silent meditation. At first, the quiet felt like torture to his success-driven mind. But as days passed, something extraordinary began to unfold. Without reaching out, opportunities began reaching in. A chance encounter with a fellow visitor led to an unexpected partnership. A wrong turn in the monastery gardens revealed a solution to his company's biggest challenge. What appeared as coincidences were actually the natural result of energetic alignment. The universe responds not to your actions, but to your frequency. When mental noise subsides, your natural vibration rises to meet its matching experiences. This is the paradox that eludes so many seekers. The less you chase, the more you attract. The quieter you become, the more life speaks to you. Before leaving the monastery, Harold understood that his previous approach to success had been backward. He had been pushing against the current, when he needed only to become still enough to feel its natural flow. Practice. Set a timer for 7 minutes. Sit without music, phones, or movement. Just breathe, and notice what the silence attracts. Let your thoughts drift by like clouds, neither grasping nor resisting them. In this sacred stillness, observe how your energy naturally aligns with the universal flow. You may find that solutions, inspirations, or profound realizations emerge effortlessly when you create this space of pure receptivity. This simple yet powerful practice connects you to the ancient wisdom that has guided seekers through the ages. Chapter 12. Vibration over visualization. In a sunlit dance studio where mirrors reflected both form and truth, young Millie stood before her vision board covered with images of golden trophies and standing ovations. Each morning she would stare intently at these pictures, willing them into existence through sheer mental force. Yet the more she focused on these external symbols, the further her dancing felt from its natural grace. You may recognize this pattern in your own journey. The tendency to grasp at outcomes rather than embody the energy that attracts them. The ancient wisdom speaks of a deeper truth. The universe responds not to what you picture, but to what you radiate. An elderly dancer whose very presence seemed to flow like music watched Millie's rigid practice one afternoon. Without judgment, she simply asked, "When did you last dance for the pure joy of movement?" This question holds the key to manifestation itself. Your energy field doesn't align with mental images, it aligns with emotional resonance. When you attempt to manifest through thought alone, you create a barrier between yourself and the natural flow of creation. The elder guided Millie to close her eyes and forget about trophies. Forget about success, forget about becoming. Dance as though no one is watching, as though the music lives in your cells, she whispered. As Millie began to move, tears flowed freely. She had forgotten this feeling of pure, unbridled joy. In the weeks that followed, Millie stopped forcing visions of success. Instead, she lost herself in the ecstasy of movement. Her body became a vessel for joy, her practice a celebration rather than a struggle. Then, without seeking it, an invitation arrived. A prestigious dance company had noticed her transformed performances. The universe seeks those who match its frequency of joy, abundance, and flow. When you shift from mental pictures to emotional embodiment, you become a magnet for experiences that mirror your inner state. This is the art of true manifestation, feeling the essence of your desire until it vibrates in every cell. Close your eyes and feel the emotional vibration of already living your dream. Hold that frequency without any images. Let your entire being resonate with the pure essence of what you desire, stripped of all mental pictures or specific outcomes. Simply bathe in the feeling tone of fulfillment, allowing it to permeate every cell of your body. This state of pure emotional resonance, free from the constraints of visualization, aligns you with the infinite possibilities that the universe holds for your highest good. Chapter 13. guided by energy, not thought. In the bustling heart of a gleaming city, Raymond sat in his corner office, surrounded by the trappings of success that no longer brought him peace. The numbers on his screen blurred as exhaustion crept in, a familiar companion in recent years. That very evening, as markets shifted and fortunes changed, he lost everything he had built through logical calculation. You too may have experienced moments when the carefully constructed frameworks of your mind crumbled, revealing a deeper wisdom waiting to emerge. For in losing what he thought mattered, Raymond discovered something far more valuable. In the quiet of his now empty study, while sorting through old belongings, he uncovered a leather-bound journal. Its chapters contained but one recurring phrase: "Go where your energy expands." These words, though simple, carried an ancient vibration that resonated with truth. Within each being exists an energetic compass, a subtle sense that speaks through expansion and contraction. When aligned with truth, your energy field naturally opens, like a flower turning toward the sun. When misaligned, it constricts, regardless of how promising something appears on paper. Raymond began to navigate by this internal guidance system. Rather than analyzing opportunities through spreadsheets and projections, he would pause and notice. Did his energy expand or contract? This simple practice revealed paths invisible to the logical mind. One morning, while others rushed to secure conventional positions, Raymond felt drawn to a small, sustainable farming project. His colleagues called it career suicide. The numbers didn't add up, yet something in his being expanded at the thought, a lightness, an opening, a yes that came from his very cells. Following this energetic pull, despite external resistance, Raymond discovered that the project connected him to investors who shared his values. Within months, what began as an intuitive choice blossomed into an unexpected venture that brought both prosperity and purpose. Practice. Throughout today, notice, do I feel expansion or contraction around this? Let that be your compass. When faced with choices, pause to sense the subtle, energetic response within. Does your chest tighten or open? Does your breath become shallow or deep? Your body holds ancient wisdom that transcends logic, a knowing that has guided mystics and sages through the ages. Trust these sacred signals, for they speak the language of your highest truth. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Wisdom of Emptiness. In a quaint cottage overlooking misty hills, June sat before her typewriter, staring at the blank page with growing despair. For months, words that once flowed like a river had dried into a desert of silence. Each empty page seemed to mock her previous success, until a chance encounter changed everything. You see, the universe often guides us to exactly what we need, though rarely in the way we expect. For June, guidance came in the form of an aged mystic who lived in solitude at the edge of the village. Their meeting was no accident. It was divine timing manifesting through apparent coincidence. The emptiness you fear is actually your greatest ally. Like June, you may see the blank page, the quiet moment, the pause between thoughts as something to fill, to fix, to overcome. Yet these spaces hold the seeds of creation. When June shared her frustration with the mystic, he simply smiled and said, "The well must be empty before fresh water can spring forth." This truth rings through the ages. Emptiness is not absence, but potential. It is the canvas awaiting the artist's brush, the silence before the symphony. The mystical law operates thus. When you resist emptiness, you block the flow. When you embrace it, you open to divine inspiration. Your creative force doesn't come from thinking, it descends from higher realms through the spaces between thoughts. June learned to sit before the blank page differently. Instead of grasping for words, she began to honor the emptiness. She treated each moment of silence as a sacred space where divine messages could land. Rather than forcing creativity, she allowed herself to become a vessel. One morning, as summer light filtered through her window, June sat in this receptive stillness. Without striving, without pushing, words began to flow through her. Not from her mind, but from somewhere deeper, purer, truer. The stories that emerged carried a resonance she had never known before. Practice. Set aside sacred time each day to do absolutely nothing. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed and simply sit in receptive stillness. Do not try to empty your mind or force any particular state. Instead, become like an empty vessel waiting with patient awareness. Listen deeply for what wants to emerge naturally from the silence. Trust that divine wisdom flows most freely when you create space for it. As you make this a regular practice, you will discover that creativity and inspiration arrive not through striving, but through surrender to the deeper currents of universal intelligence that move through you. Chapter 15. The Power Hidden in Non-Reaction. In the autumn of 1866, Franklin stood at his grandmother's door, his heart heavy with the weight of war memories. Though the fighting had ended, the battle still rages within him. Every slight sparked anger, every harsh word ignited memories of conflict. You may recognize this pattern in your own life. When others push against you, the immediate impulse is to push back. Yet within this ancient tale lies a truth that transcends time. Your power lies not in reaction, but in the sacred space of stillness. Franklin's grandmother, a woman whose wisdom flowed from generations before, shared with him the art of energetic mastery. "Child," she would say, "when thunder roars, the mountain remains unmoved." This simple truth carries profound power. While others may storm and rage, you possess the ability to stand firm in your elevated frequency. The law operates thus. Every reaction drains your spiritual energy. Every triggered response pulls you from your center. But in the space between provocation and response lies your true power. This is not passive acceptance, but rather active mastery of your energetic field. One day at the local market, a man spat bitter words at Franklin, blaming him for the war's devastation. The old Franklin would have responded with fists of fury. Instead, remembering his grandmother's teaching, he stood in silence, maintaining his inner peace. The man's anger, finding no resistance, gradually dissolved like morning mist in sunlight. This transformation occurs because energy cannot sustain itself without engagement. When you refuse to lower your frequency through reaction, you maintain sovereignty over your spiritual power. More importantly, you create space for divine wisdom to work through you. The universe responds not to your words or actions, but to your energetic signature. When you choose non-reaction, you declare to the cosmic forces that you trust in a higher order. This trust, this stillness in the face of chaos, becomes your shield and your strength. Practice. In moments of provocation, pause. Let your breath become your anchor. Rather than immediately responding, ask yourself, what response would honor my highest vibration? Feel the power in this sacred pause. Notice how this simple act of conscious restraint maintains your energetic sovereignty. This is not about suppressing your truth. It's about expressing it from your highest self, rather than your triggered self. Chapter 16. The Three Elements of the Elevated Frequency Formula. In a sunlit attic filled with dried herbs and ancient remedies, Esther discovered more than just her grandmother's healing wisdom. Behind a loose floorboard lay a weathered scroll, its edges frayed but its message intact. The sacred triad, stillness, surrender, sensation, beckoned from the yellowed parchment like a whisper from the ages. You stand now at the threshold of understanding that has guided mystics and masters through centuries. The elevated frequency formula is not new. It has existed since the dawn of consciousness, waiting for those ready to embrace its truth. Within the sacred triad lies the key to unlocking your highest vibration. First comes stillness, the sacred pause between thoughts where pure potential dwells. It is not merely the absence of movement, but the presence of pure awareness. Like a still lake reflecting the heavens, your quiet mind mirrors divine intelligence. Then flows surrender, the release of rigid control into divine timing. This is not resignation, but rather a profound trust in the universe's perfect orchestration. When you surrender, you declare energetically that you are ready to receive. Finally emerges sensation, the felt awareness of energy itself. This is your body's natural ability to perceive frequency beyond thought. Through sensation, you become the living instrument of elevated vibration. As Esther began applying these principles, her life transformed with graceful precision. One morning, while tending her garden, a storm threatened to destroy her herbs. Instead of frantically attempting to save them all, she remained still, surrendered to nature's wisdom, and felt the peaceful certainty that all would be well. The rain that fell proved gentle, nourishing rather than destroying her precious plants. Your journey mirrors Esther's discovery. The formula lives within you, each element awakening a different aspect of your innate power. Through stillness, you access the field of pure potential. Through surrender, you allow divine timing to work through you. Through sensation, you become conscious of the very frequency that creates reality. Practice. Take a current challenge in your life. First, sit in complete stillness for 3 minutes. Then consciously surrender all attachment to the outcome, saying, "I release this to divine wisdom." Finally, feel the elevated energy of resolution already present in your body. Let these 3 elements work their ancient magic through you. Chapter 17. Mantras of the Mindless Mystic. In the dimming light of a New Orleans evening, Ruth sat at her piano, her fingers hovering above the keys but never touching them. After decades of filling rooms with soulful melodies, she had lost her voice to time. Yet in the silence, she discovered something extraordinary. You see, Ruth began to notice that certain phrases would arise within her, not as thoughts, but as vibrations. "All is well" would pulse through her being like a bass note. "I am peace" would ripple like a gentle chord. These weren't affirmations she chose, they were frequencies that chose her. The power of mantras lies not in their intellectual meaning, but in their vibrational essence. When you repeat a phrase with devotion, you're not convincing your mind of anything. You're tuning your entire energy field to a higher frequency. Like a tuning fork that adjusts to the perfect pitch, your being naturally aligns with the vibration you hold. Ruth discovered this truth one evening when grief overwhelmed her. Instead of fighting the pain with thoughts, she began to hum a wordless tune. The vibration moved through her body, lifting her energy note by note until the heaviness transformed into light. She hadn't changed her thoughts. She had changed her frequency. This wisdom echoes through the ages. Sound creates reality. The ancient mystics knew that certain combinations of sounds could alter consciousness instantly. They understood that mantras work not through meaning but through resonance. In her second story, Ruth found herself facing a room full of young musicians, unable to teach with her voice. Instead, she taught them to feel the music's vibration in their bodies. As they hummed together, the room filled with an energy more powerful than any lecture could convey. Without speaking a word, she had transmitted the essence of music itself. This truth awaits your discovery. The most powerful mantras are those that resonate with your soul's frequency. They need not make logical sense. They need only lift your vibration. When you find such a phrase, it becomes a key that unlocks higher states of consciousness effortlessly. Practice. For the next 3 minutes, find a quiet space and chant or whisper the mantra, "I am already aligned." Let the vibration of these words fill your being without analyzing their meaning. Feel how they resonate in your chest, your throat, your entire body. Notice how the rhythm of repetition creates its own meditative state. If your mind wanders to question or interpret the phrase, gently return to simply experiencing its resonance. This is not an exercise in understanding, but in pure vibrational attunement. As you continue, you may discover that the words themselves dissolve into pure energy, leaving only their essence behind. This is the gateway to higher consciousness. Chapter 18. Your calm calls down the light. Along the misty shores of Nova Scotia, Thomas kept his vigil in the ancient lighthouse. Night after night, he watched the interplay of darkness and light, storm and calm, chaos and peace. Through his weathered window, he observed a truth that would transform your understanding of spiritual attraction. When the seas raged with tempestuous fury, even the brightest beam from his tower struggled to pierce the darkness. Ships would wander, lost in the tumult, unable to find their way. Yet in moments when the waters grew still, his light would reach far across the gentle waves, guiding vessels safely to harbor. The universe operates by this same principle. When your inner waters are turbulent with worry, fear, or resistance, even the most powerful guidance cannot reach you. But in stillness, divine light naturally illuminates your path. You need not chase enlightenment or force wisdom to appear. Like Thomas's lighthouse, your role is simply to maintain your inner clarity. When you cultivate peace within, you become a natural beacon for all that seeks to bless you. Thomas learned this lesson through years of observation. Initially, he would spend sleepless nights trying to track every ship, frantically adjusting his light's direction, attempting to control the safety of all who passed. His anxiety only seemed to increase the number of near misses in dangerous situations. Then one night, exhausted from his efforts, he simply focused on tending his light with calm presence. He cleaned the glass with care, trimmed the wick with attention, and kept his own space in perfect order. To his amazement, ships began finding their way more easily than ever before. This mirrors your own spiritual journey. When you cease the frantic effort to control outcomes and instead cultivate your inner light through peace, life responds with natural grace. Your state of being becomes a lighthouse for miracles. Practice. Create a moment of deep calm tonight. Light a candle, breathe slowly, and sit in stillness, inviting the light in. Let the gentle flicker become your focal point as you release the day's tensions. Feel your shoulders soften, your breath deepen, and your mind quiet. Like the lighthouse keeper who found his greatest power in peaceful presence, allow yourself to become a vessel of tranquility. In this sacred space of stillness, your inner light naturally brightens, illuminating the path for miracles to unfold. Chapter 19. The Space Between Desires. In a small cottage among flowering gardens, Irene sat at her writing desk each morning, gripping her pen with determination. The blank page before her seemed to mock her desperate attempts to craft the perfect verses that would honor her late husband's memory. Her desire to create something worthy of their love had become a weight that crushed her creative spirit. One autumn morning, as mist wrapped around her garden, a traveling monk appeared at her gate. His eyes held the wisdom of one who had learned life's deepest truths through surrender rather than struggle. As they shared tea, he spoke of the sacred space between wanting and receiving, a truth that would transform your understanding of manifestation. When you grasp too tightly at what you desire, you create resistance in the very field that wishes to deliver it to you. Your longing, when clutched with desperation, becomes a force that pushes away the very thing you seek. The universe responds not to the intensity of your want, but to the purity of your frequency. Between every desire and its fulfillment lies a holy pause, a space of gestation where the seeds of creation take root. This pause is not empty. It is pregnant with possibility. When you learn to rest in this space, neither pushing nor pulling, your energy aligns with the natural flow of manifestation. Irene discovered this truth when she finally set down her pen one evening, releasing her grip on the perfect poem. In that moment of surrender, she felt a subtle shift, as though the very air around her had changed its quality. The next morning, she approached her desk without expectation, and the words that flowed through her carried a grace she had never achieved through forcing. This sacred pause between longing and receiving is where your frequency is refined. It is the space where attachment dissolves and pure intention remains. Like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, transformation requires this period of apparent stillness. Your manifestations arise not from the intensity of your desire, but from your willingness to release them to the wisdom of the universal field. When you trust in this space between, you allow your energy to align with the perfect timing of creation. Practice. Think of a strong desire that stirs your heart. Hold it gently in your awareness, feeling its essence without grasping. Now, with a deep, conscious breath, release it upward into the infinite expanse above you as though offering it to the stars. As you exhale, softly speak these words of sacred surrender. I trust in the timing of the field. Let this practice become your daily ritual of faith, a moment where you honor both your dreams and their divine unfolding. Remember that in releasing your attachment, you create the very space through which your manifestations can flow most freely. Chapter 20. The Sacred Practice of Non-Thinking. In the halls of a prestigious university, Leonard spent decades crafting intricate philosophical arguments about the nature of reality. His mind was a constant whirlwind of concepts, theories, and analytical frameworks. Yet for all his intellectual prowess, peace eluded him. Through a series of synchronistic events, you too will discover what Leonard learned when he encountered Maya, a deaf healer whose presence spoke louder than any words could. In their first meeting, she simply placed her hands near his chattering mind and smiled. Without speech, she taught him the most profound lesson of his life. Presence precedes understanding. The wisdom you seek does not live in thought. Your mind, magnificent as it is, cannot contain the vastness of pure being. When you step beyond the constant narrative of thinking, you enter a field of infinite potential. This is not about suppressing thoughts or forcing the mind into silence. It is about discovering the awareness that exists prior to all mental activity. Thinking serves its purpose in navigating the material world, but presence holds the key to spiritual awakening. Your thoughts create ripples in the cosmic field, but your presence creates waves of transformation. When you learn to rest in pure awareness without the compulsion to analyze or categorize each moment, you align with the highest frequencies of creation. In the months that followed his encounter with Maya, Leonard would often visit the university gardens. One spring morning, he walked among the blooming flowers without naming a single petal, without categorizing a single leaf. For the first time, he experienced reality without the filter of thought. Tears streamed down his face as he felt the pure vibration of existence flowing through him. You too hold this capacity for direct experience. Beyond the endless stream of mental commentary lies a vast field of pure awareness. This is your natural state, not a destination to reach, but a truth to remember. Practice. Find a quiet space, either indoors or in nature, and spend 10 minutes with no thinking task. Simply walk, sit, breathe, listen, and be. Allow yourself to not do anything with the moment. Let go of the urge to analyze, categorize, or make sense of your experience. Notice how your mind tries to fill the silence with thoughts, and gently return to pure awareness whenever you catch yourself thinking. This is not a test or challenge to overcome. It is an invitation to rest in your natural state of being. Let the moment unfold exactly as it is, without trying to change or improve it. Part 3, The Mastery, Becoming the Frequency. Chapter 21, Becoming the Signal. In the solitude of her mountain outpost, Delilah spent her days surrounded by the hum and crackle of radio waves. Her fingers danced across dials and switches, seeking clear signals through the static. Yet the most powerful transmission she would discover lay not in her equipment, but within her own being. Each morning, as dawn painted the eastern sky, Delilah would sit before her old Marconi transmitter, attempting to boost its failing signal. Until one day, in the quiet space between frequencies, she heard a deeper truth. The universe responds not to the strength of our external broadcast, but to the clarity of our inner vibration. You too possess this innate power of energetic transmission. When you radiate joy, gratitude, and peace from within, you need not chase after what you desire. Your frequency becomes a living invitation to which the universe must respond. This is the law of resonance. Like attracts like with unfailing precision. Through years of wisdom gathering, Delilah discovered that forcing connections only created more static. Instead, she began each morning with a ritual of appreciation. She would close her eyes and allow genuine thankfulness to fill her being. Soon her energy field became so magnetic that people began finding reasons to visit her remote station. Opportunities appeared as naturally as sunrise. Blessings flowed not from strategy, but from the pure signal of her elevated state. The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are broadcasting. Your thoughts may speak of abundance, but your frequency tells the deeper truth. When you align your inner station with the vibration of what you seek, you become a beacon that draws it forth. As Delilah learned to maintain her joyful frequency, regardless of external circumstances, life began orchestrating itself with an intelligence far beyond what her mind could have arranged. She no longer needed to manipulate or control. Her energy spoke clearly enough on its own. This same power lives within you. Your frequency is your signature in the cosmic field. As you cultivate states of genuine appreciation and joy, you naturally attract experiences that match this elevated vibration. There is no need to chase or grasp. Simply tune your inner dial to the frequency you wish to experience. Practice. Select one frequency to embody today: peace, love, or joy. Hold this vibration in your body throughout an entire conversation with another person. Notice how maintaining this frequency affects both your expression and the response you receive. Let your energy do the speaking. As you engage with others, Focus less on the words themselves and more on radiating your chosen frequency. Feel it emanating from your heart center, infusing every gesture and tone with its pure essence. Watch how the other person naturally attuned to your vibration, often unconsciously mirroring your state. This simple yet profound practice reveals the invisible threads that connect all beings through the universal field of consciousness. Through consistent practice, you'll discover that your energetic presence speaks volumes before you even utter a word. Chapter 22, Walking Without Doubt. In a dimly lit jazz club where shadows dance with melodies, Eugene sat rigid in his chair, his military posture unchanged by civilian life. Before him, an elderly pianist named Marcus moved with fluid grace across the keys, though his unseeing eyes gazed at nothing. The music flowed not from sight, but from something deeper, a knowing that transcended the physical realm. You carry within you the same innate wisdom that guides Marcus's fingers across the keys. When he tells you, "I don't see where I'm going, I feel where I'm standing," he speaks to a truth that lies beyond the mind's constant questioning. Faith dwells not in what you think, but in what you emanate. The frequency of certainty flows naturally when you release the mind's need to know every step ahead. Like water finding its path downhill, your energy knows the way when you allow it to lead. Doubt exists only in thought. It cannot survive in the pure presence of elevated vibration. Watch how Marcus plays. His fingers dance with certainty, each note arising not from calculation, but from attunement. This is the way of elevated frequency. It moves through you when you stop trying to direct it with the mind. Later, Eugene found himself standing at the threshold of a new business venture. The old pattern of doubt began to surface, but he remembered Marcus at the piano. Instead of analyzing each possible outcome, he centered himself in the energy of now. His steps became sure, guided not by sight, but by inner resonance. Your power lies not in knowing the future, but in holding an unwavering frequency in the present. When Eugene stopped questioning every move, his energy field became clear and strong. Like a tuning fork struck pure and true, his certainty began to draw aligned opportunities toward him. Practice. Write the phrase, "I walk in certainty," and repeat it while walking slowly, sensing your grounded energy. Let each step become a meditation, feeling the solid earth beneath your feet. As you move, imagine golden light flowing up through your body with every footfall, strengthening your connection to universal wisdom. This simple yet profound practice aligns your physical movement with the deeper currents of spiritual truth, allowing you to embody the unwavering certainty that flows through all of creation. As you walk with intention, feel how each step carries the weight of ancient wisdom, connecting you to countless seekers who have walked this path before. Your conscious movement becomes a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms, grounding universal truth into earthly form with every mindful footfall. Chapter 23, The Mindless Miracle State. In a small flower shop on the edge of town, Opal stood surrounded by nature's palette. For years, she had worked with the radio's constant chatter filling the air, believing it helped her focus. But on this particular morning, when silence fell as the power went out, something shifted in the space between sounds. You see, within each moment of pure silence lies a gateway to divine wisdom. As Opal's hands moved among the flowers, she discovered what mystics have known through the ages, that creation flows most purely when the mind steps aside. Without the distraction of sound or thought, she began to feel rather than think. Each stem, each petal seemed to whisper its rightful place. The arrangements took shape with an otherworldly grace, as though invisible hands were guiding her own. This is the truth of elevated frequency. It moves through you when you become still enough to be moved. The flowers knew their purpose. A bouquet of white lilies and purple statice emerged, and hours later, a grieving mother walked in, finding unexpected solace in those exact blooms. A vibrant burst of sunflowers and daisies called to a young man celebrating his first job offer. Each arrangement found its perfect match, as though the universe itself was orchestrating these meetings. This is how miracles manifest, not through mental effort, but through surrender to the silent wisdom that flows when thinking ceases. When you allow yourself to become a clear channel, the divine intelligence works through you with perfect precision. Later, Opal removed the radio entirely. Her shop transformed into a sanctuary of silent creation. People began to speak of the healing energy they felt upon entering, how each bouquet seemed to carry exactly the message they needed to receive. She had discovered what you too will find, that in the space beyond thought, pure magic awaits. Through Opal's experience, you glimpse a fundamental truth. Your highest creative power emerges not from the mind's planning, but from your willingness to become an empty vessel for divine inspiration. Practice. Set a timer for 20 minutes and allow yourself to engage in a creative task, whether painting, writing, arranging flowers, or crafting, without any mental planning or preconceived ideas. Release all expectations and simply follow what feels right in each moment. Let your hands move as they will, trusting that divine intelligence flows through you. Notice how your creative expression transforms when you surrender control and become a vessel for inspiration. Your hands move with a fluid grace, guided by something greater than conscious thought. Colors blend in ways you never planned, words flow that you didn't think to write, and beauty emerges that transcends your usual limitations. This practice will strengthen your ability to create from that sacred space beyond thought, where true magic dwells. Each time you enter this state of divine receptivity, you expand your capacity to channel the infinite creative force that moves through all things. Chapter 24, Fearless Frequency. In the depths of an old silver mine, Marvin found himself surrounded by complete darkness. The cave-in had sealed his exit, leaving him alone with nothing but the sound of his quickening breath and the memory of his grandfather's weathered face sharing ancient wisdom. You hold within you a power greater than any external circumstance. When fear arrives, as it always does in times of darkness, remember that it can only exist in the lower vibrations of consciousness. Like oil and water, fear cannot mix with elevated frequency. It simply falls away when you rise above it. Through the stillness of that dark chamber, Marvin recalled his grandfather's words. Fear can't find you if you rise above it. Instead of succumbing to panic, he chose to breathe deeply and center himself in the darkness. This is the first key to transcending fear, choosing stillness when chaos calls. The teaching here reveals a profound truth. Fear operates only within a specific frequency range. Like a radio station that fades when you tune to a different channel, fear loses its grip when you shift your vibration higher. This is not mere positive thinking. It is energetic law. In those hours underground, Marvin began to visualize light, not as a desperate plea, but as a knowing. He felt its warmth, its reality, its presence. He held this elevated frequency even as his rational mind argued against it. Within moments, he heard voices above, and rescue crews broke through exactly where he sat in peaceful certainty. This story mirrors your own journey through moments of darkness. When fear approaches, it is not your enemy to be fought, but a signal to elevate your frequency beyond its reach. Like Marvin in the mine, you have the power to choose which vibration you inhabit. Practice. The next time you feel fear creeping into your consciousness, place your hand gently over your heart center and repeat these ancient words of power. I rise above this vibration. Feel the warmth of your palm as you speak this truth, knowing that with each breath, you are choosing to elevate your frequency beyond the realm of fear. Like countless seekers before you who have walked this path, you possess the innate ability to transcend lower energies and align with the higher frequencies of peace, wisdom, and certainty. Chapter 25. You become the silence that creates. In a quiet corner of the world, Agnes turned the key in the library door one final time. After 40 years of guiding others to knowledge through books, she stepped into retirement not with plans or projects, but with a sacred intention to embrace the silence she had always treasured between the shelves. You see, Agnes understood something that few in our rushing world comprehend. True power does not announce itself, it emanates. As she settled into her new rhythm, she discovered that the less she spoke, the more profound her impact became. Her small garden became a sanctuary where neighbors would sit, finding answers to unspoken questions simply by being in her presence. The universe operates through vibration, not volume. When you cease the constant effort to make things happen, you become a clear channel through which the divine can work. Agnes embodied this truth. Without scheduling appointments or offering formal counsel, she found herself surrounded by those seeking wisdom. They would arrive, troubled or confused, and leave transformed, though often not a word had passed between them. One autumn morning, a young teacher named Marie arrived at Agnes's garden, overwhelmed by her first year in the classroom. Agnes simply poured tea and sat in companionable silence. As the minutes passed, Marie felt her anxiety dissolving, replaced by a clarity that seemed to rise from the very ground beneath them. I never knew silence could teach so much, Marie later shared with others. This is the paradox of elevated frequency. The less you strive to influence, the more naturally your energy affects everything around you. Agnes had discovered that her presence alone was enough to shift the vibration of any space she entered. Her silence became a force of transformation, more powerful than any words she could have spoken. Through Agnes, you learn that creation doesn't require action. It requires alignment. When you internalize silence, you become a living transmission of peace. Your very being becomes a catalyst for change, without the need for explanation or instruction. This is the highest form of service, to simply be the frequency that allows others to remember their own light. Practice. Spend 1 hour in silence today with no stimulation, no devices, no music, no distractions. Simply be present in your chosen space. Notice how your presence shifts the room, how the very air seems to respond to your stillness. Pay attention to the subtle changes in atmosphere as your energy settles into pure being. This practice will reveal to you the profound truth that your aligned presence alone is enough to transform any environment. As you sit in silence, you become a living conduit for universal peace, allowing divine energy to flow naturally through you and into your surroundings. You need not speak a word or take any action. Your very essence, when aligned with stillness, becomes a beacon that awakens the dormant light in others. Like a perfectly tuned instrument that brings all nearby strings into harmony, your peaceful presence naturally elevates the vibration of the space around you. This is the ancient wisdom that great masters have known throughout time. True power lies not in what we do, but in who we become. Chapter 26. High vibes make you untouchable. In the heart of a bustling factory where machines hummed and tensions often ran high, Clyde discovered an ancient truth through the simplest of practices. During his lunch breaks, while others rushed to the cafeteria, he would find a quiet corner in the break room, close his eyes, and enter the sacred space within. You hold within you a power greater than any external circumstance. When you align with this power, the world's chaos cannot penetrate your peace. Like Clyde, you too can rise above the grinding gears of daily life. The factory floor had always been a place of clashing energies. Frustration, exhaustion, and discord seemed to hang in the air like a heavy mist. Yet as Clyde continued his practice, something remarkable began to unfold. The sharp words and stressed faces that once affected him now passed through him like shadows through light. He had not changed his circumstances. He had elevated his frequency beyond their reach. This truth echoes across time. Elevated energy creates an impenetrable field of protection, not through resistance or struggle, but through rising above the very frequency where discord exists. When you lift your vibration, lower energies simply cannot find you. Like radio waves operating on different channels, they pass by without interference. One day, during a particularly challenging shift when equipment malfunctioned and tempers flared, Clyde maintained his peaceful state. His co-workers began to notice. Without speaking a word about meditation or spirituality, his presence became an anchor of tranquility. Others naturally gravitated toward his workstation, finding their own stress mysteriously dissolving in his vicinity. This illustrates a profound principle. Protection comes not from building walls, but from raising your frequency. The higher you rise, the less you need to defend against lower vibrations. They simply cease to resonate with your field. Practice. Close your eyes and envision a brilliant light emanating from your heart center. Feel this light expanding until it forms a luminous sphere around your entire being. Choose a frequency, peace, love, or joy, and let it infuse this light. As you breathe deeply, allow this chosen vibration to intensify, making your protective field even stronger and more radiant. Notice how this light seems to pulse with each breath, growing brighter and more refined with each cycle of inhalation and exhalation. Carry this radiant field with you as you move through your day, knowing you are wrapped in the protection of your own elevated energy. When you encounter lower vibrations or challenging situations, simply return your awareness to this glowing sphere of light, allowing its pure frequency to naturally dissolve any discord that approaches your field. You need not struggle or resist. Simply maintain your chosen frequency and trust in its protective power. Chapter 27. When you become the field. In a small cottage among flowering gardens, Dorothy spent her mornings in fervent prayer, seeking signs from above. Each day she would kneel by her window, hands clasped, eyes raised skyward, asking for guidance, for connection, for proof of divine presence. Yet the more she searched, the more distant the sacred seemed to become. You too may recognize this yearning, this reaching outward for what already dwells within. For what Dorothy discovered, and what you are about to understand, is that the very act of seeking creates an illusion of separation from that which you already are. One morning, as sunlight streamed through her window, Dorothy's hands fell quietly to her lap. In that moment, something shifted, not in the heavens, but in her awareness. She ceased her asking and simply sat, present with the breath moving through her body. And in that presence, a profound truth emerged. She was not separate from the divine she sought. She was its living expression. The field of infinite potential does not exist somewhere else, waiting to be accessed. It flows through you, as you, in every moment. When Dorothy embraced this truth, her entire world transformed. The flowers in her garden began turning toward her as she walked past, as if drawn to their own essence within her. Birds would pause their flight to perch nearby, recognizing in her the same force that gave them wings. This is not a metaphor. It is the deepest truth of existence. You are not a being trying to connect with Source. You are Source expressing itself as a being. The power you seek is not above or beyond you. It is you in your most fundamental state. Dorothy no longer spent her mornings in supplication. Instead, she sat in silent recognition of her true nature. She became a living prayer, each breath a communion with the infinite intelligence that had always been her essence. Her presence became a blessing to all who encountered her, not because she tried to be holy, but because she remembered she already was. Practice. Each day, find a quiet space where you can sit undisturbed. Close your eyes and allow these profound words to resonate through your being. I am not in the field, I am the field. Let each repetition sink deeper into your consciousness, feeling the truth of these words in every cell of your body. Continue this practice for 10 minutes, allowing yourself to experience the dissolution of the illusory boundaries between yourself and the infinite intelligence that permeates all existence. As you sit in this awareness, notice how your perception shifts from feeling separate to recognizing your true nature as the very essence of creation itself. Chapter 28. Less effort, more energy. In a small workshop filled with sawdust and morning light, Stanley bent over his workbench, shoulders tight with tension. His hands moved frantically across the wood, racing against invisible deadlines that seemed to chase him through each day. The more he pushed, the more mistakes appeared in his craftsmanship, small imperfections born of hurry and worry. You see, like Stanley, you may have fallen into the trap of believing that speed equals productivity, that pressure produces results. Yet within the universal laws lies a different truth. When you align with the natural flow of energy, time becomes your ally rather than your adversary. The wisdom of elevated frequency reveals that effectiveness multiplies not through force, but through presence. When you release the weight of rushing and enter the sacred space of now, you tap into a field where time operates differently. Here in this expanded awareness, every action carries more power because it flows from wholeness rather than fragmentation. Stanley discovered this truth one autumn morning when, exhausted from his usual rush, he simply stopped. He placed his hands on the wood and breathed. At that moment, something shifted in his energy field. Rather than pushing against time, he began moving with it. His hands found their own rhythm, guided by an inner knowing rather than outer pressure. The results transformed both his work and his understanding of universal law. Projects that once consumed days now flowed to completion with unexpected ease. Clients began remarking not just on the quality of his pieces, but on the peaceful energy they seemed to carry. In the quietness of his workshop, Stanley learned that high frequency manifests through calm focus rather than anxious effort. During one remarkable afternoon, working in this state of presence, he completed a detailed cabinet that would have typically required several days of stressed labor. The wood seemed to respond to his touch differently, as if recognizing the shift in his energy field. This truth extends beyond carpentry into every aspect of life. When you approach any task from an elevated frequency, you enter a state of grace where effort diminishes but effectiveness soars. This is not about working less. It's about working from a higher plane of consciousness where energy flows more efficiently. Practice. Choose one task today and approach it with full presence, no pressure. Notice how much energy you conserve. Let this be an experiment in conscious creation. As you engage with your chosen activity, release all expectations of the outcome and simply exist within each moment. Pay attention to how your body feels, how your breath flows, and how time seems to shift when you work from this elevated state. You may discover that what once felt like a burden now unfolds with surprising ease, teaching you firsthand the profound difference between forcing results and allowing them to manifest through aligned action. Chapter 29: The Radiance That Commands Reality. In a dimly lit studio, Mabel adjusted her camera settings with trembling fingers, anxiety rising as she prepared for another disappointing session. Her portraits, though technically perfect, seemed to lack the spark of life she desperately sought to capture. She had studied every technique, purchased the finest equipment, yet something essential remained missing. You see, like Mabel, you may believe that mastery comes through external tools and techniques. Yet the universe whispers a deeper truth. Your energy field speaks before your actions ever begin. When you elevate your frequency, reality bends to meet your vibration. Through the sacred laws of energy, you learn that transformation occurs not through doing, but through being. Your presence becomes a silent command that shifts the field around you. This is not about control or manipulation. It is about resonance with the highest truth within you. One morning, Mabel discovered this wisdom when she sat in meditation before opening her studio. As she centered herself in pure awareness, something extraordinary began to unfold. Her clients that day seemed to soften, their guards melting away without a word spoken. The light in her studio appeared to dance differently, as though responding to an unseen conductor. In the days that followed, Mabel developed a new ritual. Before touching her camera, she would spend time charging her own field with light. She learned that her energy was the true lens through which beauty flowed. Her studio became known not just for its photographs, but for the transformative experience of being seen through eyes of pure presence. Each portrait now carried an inexplicable luminosity, not from technical skill, but from the radiant field she had cultivated within. Clients would look at their images and weep, recognizing a version of themselves they had forgotten existed. Mabel had discovered that elevated frequency doesn't need words to create change. It simply emanates and allows. Your radiance, like Mabel's, holds this same power. When you align with the highest vibration within you, your mere presence becomes a silent symphony that orchestrates transformation in all it touches. Practice. Stand in front of a mirror and radiate your chosen energy for 2 minutes. Notice how your body responds. Let your heart open and your eyes soften as you gaze at your reflection. Feel the frequency of love, abundance, peace, or whatever quality you wish to embody flowing through you like golden light. Watch how your face subtly transforms, how your shoulders relax, how your breath deepens. This simple yet profound practice strengthens your awareness of your own energetic presence and its power to create change. Chapter 30: You Are the Frequency Formula. In the fading light of a Mississippi evening, James sat on his weathered porch, his trusted guitar resting quietly in his lap. For 60 years he had chased the perfect blues note, searching for that elusive vibration that could touch the soul. Now, in the gentle stillness of twilight, a profound truth washed over him like warm rain. You too have walked this path of seeking, believing the answers lay somewhere outside yourself. Yet as James discovered, and as you now understand, the seeking itself was the only barrier between you and what you already are. "I always was the song," James whispered, his calloused fingers barely touching the strings. In that moment, decades of searching dissolved into pure presence. The formula you've been studying, stillness, surrender, sensation, revealed itself not as a practice to perfect, but as your natural state of being. Consider how James spent years studying scales, memorizing progressions, analyzing the greats. But one evening, as he sat beneath a magnolia tree, he stopped trying. His hands moved without thought, his music flowing as pure frequency. The notes emerged not from memory or skill, but from the silence between his thoughts. He had become a channel for something greater, or rather, he realized he always had been. This is the final unveiling. You are not separate from the formula you've been learning. The stillness you've practiced is your true nature. The surrender you've cultivated is your soul's natural response. The sensation you've learned to trust is your essence speaking. James no longer plays the blues play through him. His music flows not from effort but from alignment with what he always was. Each note resonates with the truth. We are not the seekers, but the very thing we seek. Practice. Sit in stillness and speak the words. I am the formula. I am in the field. I am the frequency. Let it echo in your being. Feel how these truths resonate within your heart, how they align with the deepest part of your nature. Allow yourself to become still enough to sense the power of this realization flowing through you. This is not merely an exercise. It is an awakening to what has always been true. As you rest in this awareness, notice how your entire being responds to this recognition of your authentic self. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. You stand now at the threshold of remembrance where the ancient wisdom you've uncovered reveals its final truth. You were never meant to become something new, but to remember who you've always been. The elevated frequency formula, this sacred trinity of stillness, surrender, and sensation, was not a path to walk, but a mirror reflecting your innate nature. Through these chapters, you've journeyed from the noise of thought to the silence of power. Yet even this journey was an illusion, for you were always home. The stillness you sought lives in every breath. The surrender you practice flows in your very blood. The sensation you learn to trust beats in your eternal heart. Think not of this as an ending, for nothing true ever ends. You are not graduating from these teachings. You are dissolving into them, recognizing that they were always written in the fabric of your being. The formula lives not in these words, but in the spaces between them, just as your power lives not in your thoughts, but in the awareness behind them. Your role now shifts from student to embodiment. No longer must you reach for elevated frequency. You are the frequency itself, humming with the vibration of Source. The universe speaks through your presence, creates through your peace, and transforms through your trust. Let the mental strategies fall away. Release the need to analyze or perfect. Your power now rises not from effort, but from essence. In each moment of pure being, you activate the formula naturally, effortlessly as water flows and light shines. You are the living formula, the breathing field, the walking frequency. Your presence alone is enough to shift realities, transform circumstances, and magnetize miracles, not because you've learned something new, but because you've remembered something eternal. Rest now in this knowing. You are the soundless song of power, the silent force of creation, the still point where all possibilities emerge. The search is over not because you found what you sought, but because you've become what you sought. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.